Hello viewers, very warm good evening from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. You're watching QTV live from the Gambia here in West Africa. My name is Aliou Sise and we are back to bring you the live daily debates among candidates contesting across the 53 constituencies in the Gambia. And today we are looking at Banjul South constituency in the Banjul administrative area. Well, Banjul South constituency has a total registered voters of 6,248 as of the last presidential election compared to 2017 when it has 6,258 registered voters. When you talk about Banjul South constituency, this is a constituency which is divided into 3 wards. You have the Habdai ward, Jollof Town ward, and Portuguese Town ward. And then for those of us who don't know exactly where Banjul South is in Banjul, we're talking about the area around the police headquarters, the Albert Market, the port of Banjul, that's GPA, that's the area which is Banjul South constituency. And in this year's parliamentary election, we have 4 candidates who are contesting in that particular constituency, and they are Fatoumata Njai, commonly known as Tuma Njai, who was elected in 2017 under the PPP ticket, but she is now contesting as an independent candidate. She is also part of the Gambia's delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, and also she is the only woman who is contesting as an independent candidate in this parliamentary election. We also have Mohamedou Mansour Foun, who is contesting on the PDI's ticket in Banjul South constituency. Mohamed Foun is also in the studio. We have Yaya Kuyate of UDP and Usman Abu Wada of NPP. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Yaya Kuyate and Usman Wada here in the studio to join in the debate, but we are glad to have these 2 candidates here in the studio. In 2017, we saw Tuma Njai, like I said earlier, elected to represent the people of her constituency after getting 1,411 votes. In that particular election, 2017, she was challenged by Babukar S. Nyang of APRC, by Babukar Sar, an independent candidate, by Babukar Mane of UDP, and Aziz Parboy Fraser of the Gambia Democratic Congress Party. Tuma and Mohammed, welcome to the debate. Before we get into the debate proper, let me just share with you the rules governing this debate. The debate shall last for 1 hour 30 minutes. The debate shall include breaks where necessary. Each of the debaters will be given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. The same applies for closing statement. Candidates can ask each other questions and answer the moderator's follow-ups. Debaters are to address each other by Mr., Miss, or Mrs. followed by the surname. The questions are independently prepared by QTV. There will be no rebuttals of opening or closing statements, but there will be a 1-minute rebuttals to allow each of the candidates to respond or counter any of the claims made by his or her opponents. And then there will be a 10-minute phone-in call for the people of Banjul South constituency to phone in and ask questions to any of the candidates. And we expect at the end of the debate, the debaters to acknowledge each other with a handshake or an elbow bump. Like I said, once again, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. We're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just right behind the QCell main building. My name is Aliou Sise. Let me now get into the debate proper. Let me just start by allowing the sitting MP, Fatoumata Tuma Njai, just to give a 2 minutes opening statement and further tell us who is Tuma Njai.
Good afternoon, viewers, especially viewers from my constituency, Banjul South. Good afternoon, Aliou, and thank you very much for having us. Actually, I was very frustrated when I saw people coming to QTV for these kind of debates and without you people inviting Banjul South, so I kept asking my question. I'm sorry about that. Probably I was hesitant, but thank you for having us today anyway. My name is Fatoumata Tuma Njai. I'm the incumbent parliamentarian who have set the precedents, who have set the bar of MPs in Banjul South with an unprecedented representation in the last 5 years. I attended St. Joseph's Preparatory School and attended Gambia High School. Then I proceeded to the United Kingdom, where I did my A-levels in English, History, and law, and then I attended the University of Kent at Canterbury, where I obtained a degree in politics and international relations. From there, I went to the law school, London Law School, where I did a postgraduate diploma in law, and instead of proceeding to do my bar, I came back home and started work. My first job was at the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, where I initiated the first ever Social Security magazine, and I also advocated for the selling of properties at the Brusubi Faces. From there, I went to the GRTS, where I was the first ever marketing manager, where I worked with various managing directors like Tombong Seidi, Nene McDowell, and Boram Boch, and I learned a lot working in a private TV station in a predominantly authoritarian government. And as a marketing manager, I had to control and manage what was shown on TV, what was bought, and I was persistent on keeping the TV from government control under the regime of Yaya Jammeh. Unfortunately, that was very difficult to do, and I eventually had to leave.
Thank you very much, Tuma. Your 2 minutes are up. I mean, like that's Fatumata Tumanjai, who is contesting as an independent candidate in Banjul South constituency. By the way, she is one of the 3 women who were elected in 2017. The other 3 were nominated by the president. And that's Tumanjai. We now bring in Mohamedou Mansour Foon of PDIS. In 2 minutes, opening statement. And who is Mohamedou Mansour Foon?
Good afternoon to the viewers of QTV and the electorates of Banjul South constituency and the Gambians in Gambia and the diaspora. I am Mr. Mohamedou Mansour Foon. I was born at 7 Hill Street in Banjul. I grew up in Banjul and I spent most of my childhood up to the adolescent level in Half-Dye ward. I started my education through the formal education system of primary school, that is Mohammedan Primary School, where I proceeded to Crab Island Junior Secondary School. I finished Crab Island Junior Secondary School in 1985 and started my working career with NAVEC. Through my working career with NAVEC, I spent 7 years with NAVEC, and after that I proceeded to Gambega and spent 21 years at Gambega. I had a formal professional education and I had a diploma in human resource development. Up to the time of my retirement at Gambega, I was serving as the production planning and operations manager. That's my career, educational career, and my working career. And I am now, after a brief illness, I am now being trusted by some Gambians in the diaspora with their projects in the country that I am managing presently.
Thank you very much, Mohamedou Mansour Foon, the candidate for PDIS party, commonly known as DOI in Banjul South constituency. Once again, just to remind you, we have reached out to all the 4 candidates in the Banjul South constituency, but these are the 2 who have accepted to be on the program. Yaya Kuyat of UDP and Usman Abu Wada are not with us. I mean, I will start with you, Usman, before I, Mohamedou Rada, before I get to the sitting MP. Could you just share with us some of the key issues in your constituency?
Yeah, the key issues in Banjul South are many. Some are peculiar to Banjul South and some are national in character. The issues of Banjul South, when you talk about issues, first you must talk about the port expansion in Banjul South. The port expansion is changing the face of Banjul South by depopulating a whole constituency. Then you have another issue of the warehouse and stores. Businesses are acquiring traditional homes in Banjul South constituency, and that is also affecting to the population, the populating of the constituencies. And you have youth unemployment, which are national in character, and women empowerment. those issues are national in character, but nonetheless, they are affecting the constituency of Banjul South.
Well, I mean, you've listed quite many issues in your constituency. Let me now bring in the sitting MP, that is Fatoumata Tumanjai. I mean, could you also share with us some of the pending issues in your constituency that you believe, I mean, you weren't able to address in your first term, and you believe you should be given the chance to return to Parliament?
Yeah, I think, thank you very much again, Aliu. The only pending issue I have that hasn't been addressed, because Banjul South has a lot of urban poverty and the lack of facilities, for example, libraries, access to information, for example, IT centers, and the lack of higher education institutions. And I think that was why, if you have been following me for the past 5 years, what I have done, I have improved the education system by advancing, by sponsoring students. But the thing is, because they have to go outside the constituency, it has been very difficult. And also we have shortage of early learning centers, and that is the reason why I'm actually planning on opening a center. That is one of my only campaign promises in 2017 that I have not fulfilled. Unfortunately for me, in November 2020, I acquired a property that we plan to open the IT center, and also that would serve as a learning center where young children and adults can come for proper formal education. We have acquired support from people in the diaspora by giving us computers, but the main priorities in Banjul South are urban poverty, because when you look at poverty, people only think that poverty is in the rural areas, and the support that comes in this country mostly goes in the rural areas, which I think my constituency should also be focused on. But nonetheless, my foundation that I founded in August 2017 tried as much as possible by addressing the lack of education, which is a direct result of poverty, especially in girl child education. I have over 20 students that I am sponsoring, and that needs to be increased. And that is why, if you follow me at the National Assembly, I only focus on education and on women issues. My foundation also works in supporting women, especially market women.
Thank you very much, Honorable Njai. Let me now go back to Muhammadu Foon. I mean, you have heard the incumbent talking about what she described as her achievements in her first term in Parliament. How will you rate her performance?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it doesn't seem that the National Assembly member that was representing Banjul South in the last 5 years is here sitting in front of us talking about his achievement. What I believe is Banjul South was lacking a truly representative in the National Assembly. I couldn't just imagine being a National Assembly member for 5 years. The people of Banjul South constituency didn't have access to you. A mere office was not set up by the National Assembly member for people of Banjul South to have access to his offices. So I couldn't see how you can address the issues and concerns of Banjul South when they did not have access to you.
Yes, I mean, Honorable, you have heard from Muhammad Mansour Foon. I mean, he is in disagreement with what we have said. I mean, according to him, there was that lack of what he said, and I quote, lack of true representation. In fact, you didn't even have an office in your constituency for your people to have access to you. How do you respond to that?
I think my fellow candidate should know that an office comes with overheads, and that is a cost to me. National Assembly does not give us the privilege. They do not pay for us to have offices. And as a candidate, people had access to me. That was why I was able to establish my foundation. But knowing that the office is in need, that was why, as a member of the authority, I made sure that in this coming parliament, in this coming legislature, people will be paid allowances that they would open offices. When people say offices, I would rather support the needy than open an office and pay for the expenses rather than pushing it to my constituency. I had an office for the first 6 months, but trying to set up the office would have cost me at least over 150,000. And when I calculated that, I said that can send 6 people to the university. What I want Mr. Foon to tell me is whether he has ever sponsored anybody or ever supported anybody outside of his family. And if he can say that, then I would say that having an office would have been good. But in the last 5 years, I have spent over 600,000, over a million in supporting people in my constituency. And if I should ask them, they would rather be sent to university, sent to GT, to MDI, sent to school, sent to Presentation Girls Vocational Center, than have an office, sit there and do nothing. I thought it was much better to pay for their education, for their future, free them from enslavement, make them dependent, rather than open an office and sit there and make it a bantaba. Because as far as I know, Mr. Foon always sits out in the streets in a bantaba and never contributes anything to the socio-economic development of Banjul South. He is known to be a quiet, a quiet person who doesn't even interact with the people that live in the constituency.
Exactly.
He doesn't even greet people in the constituency. And to be an honorable member, one must be outspoken.
Allow me to your 2 minutes is up. I will bring in Mansur here to respond to what to her claim. But I mean, Honorable, I mean, you talked about not having an office, but you've been, supporting your people. How have you been engaging with your people? How accessible have you been as far as Banjul South is concerned?
I have representatives in each of the constituencies, and they can call in and testify that. I can name names, because if anything happened, Mr. Foon here has a neighbor that had a good grade in grade 9. And it was known, and if he knew that he wanted to contest for office, because that person is from a poor family, I mean a needy family, nobody reached out to support them, and it was my foundation that supported. So I would rather do that than open an office. But if we should go and claim that the government had, that the state had given us money for offices and not open it, then I could have been held responsible. But I will choose it again and again to use my resources to support people in education rather than open an office and sit and gossip and do nothing but sit and gossip like Mr. Foon would do each and every day in Banjul and not contribute anything in the socio-economic development of the country.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I will now bring in Mr. Foon here. What's your response? That you only sit at the Bantaba gossiping?
He doesn't know me. He doesn't know the constituency. I have been working with Gambega for 21 years. For 21 years. If you want to say 21 years, if you have a child who is now 21 years, he will be in the university. But what I want to say is, it will be the most unprofessional setup to have an organization that doesn't have an office. So everything will be done
at Denton Street. My mother lived at Orange Street and Hagan Street, and I got married. And for him to say that, and it's blatant, it's known that in 2017, they were taking me to other constituencies so that the people in that constituencies can have the vote, because people wanted to vote for me. I am from a very respectable, very prominent family, like him, because his family is also prominent and respectable. But the thing is, people, somebody like me, I'm very outspoken, I'm very bold, so for you to say that nobody knows me when I'm 24 hours on the TV, I think I am the most outspoken person in the parliament. So for somebody to say that they do not know Tumanjai for the last 5 years, I think that is misleading, or probably just wishful thinking, or wishing that they were like me. Because for me...
I have a follow-up here. You talked about what you said, your key achievements, supporting underprivileged children to go to school. I want to know, is that the heart of the role of a National Assembly member? We thought it is only about legislation, representation, and performing oversight functions.
Thank you very much. It is not the only role. And if you followed me in Parliament, I have been doing my oversight functions exceptionally well. And I have done my lawmaking functions by coming up unprecedented, the first ever constitution amendment bill by a National Assembly member to increase female representation in this country. So if you say that I have failed in my legislative functions, I think that should be misleading, because Tuma has been a household product in the last 5 years. I have done exceptionally well by making sure that my oversight functions are done properly. I have put government ministers at task. I have put even the vice president at task. I have put the speaker in order so many times, not once, not twice, and my representation have been exceptionally good. When it comes to the budget session, I think I am one of the main people, even though it's my first time in Parliament. If they count excellent members at the National Assembly, if I am not one, I will come second.
Now, let me bring in Mansour Foon here. Earlier on, you said, I mean, the sitting MP doesn't know about the constituency. In her response, she said, in fact, you were part of our campaign team in 2017. I wanted to clarify that. Were you actually part of our campaign team? And the other question is, I mean, you've heard what she said she has done in the past 5 years. How will you have done it different to make any further impact or different impact?
Let me clarify things. I was part of his campaign because 2017, we had an organization called Team Tahawal Banjul. Team Tahawal Banjul was set up by prominent Banjulians to select their candidates for the upcoming national election, for the upcoming elections that was in 2017. That was the involvement I had. I never had an involvement with Tuma. I was part of the Team Tahawal Banjul, and I am living in that constituency, Banjul South. That's why I was supporting his candidature.
And during that period, you didn't have any direct interaction with her?
I had direct interaction with her through Team Tahawal Banjul. But by then, I did not even know who is Tuma Njai.
Okay, now a follow-up on, you have heard what CCT has done in the past 5 years. I mean,
yeah.
What will you have done different? Or what will you do different if you are elected?
No, what I want to say is, the women bill that he is talking of was a failure. The women bill didn't even have a quorum to pass through the House. That's a failure.
But that's not her fault.
She didn't.
That's not her fault. I mean, she brought the bill.
When you brought a bill, before you brought a bill, you have to do the groundwork before you brought a bill. How can, before you bring a bill to the Parliament, you have to do your groundwork? How can you bring a bill up to the chambers and you do not even have a quorum to sit for that bill?
What do you mean by a groundwork in this instance?
Who was the sponsor of that bill? She is claiming she was the sponsor of that bill. It was a private bill. Whose responsibility should it be to make sure that that bill goes through? It is her. And he failed woefully.
But I mean, one might say at least she must have engaged her colleagues, because at least we had some of the MPs in Parliament.
If she had engaged...
And the other thing is that in Parliament, I mean, you cannot force anybody to vote yes or no.
No, what I am saying, if she had engaged her colleagues properly, there would have been quorum. I believe for him, she is known for confrontation rather than dialogue. That's why the bill couldn't go through.
So basically, we can say in Mr. Foon, you believe in every negotiation or every engagement. Certainly, there's an assurance that you will get a fruitful outcome.
Obviously, I am different from her. I believe in consultation than confrontation. And the art of passing bill in Parliament, especially a private member's bill, you have to dialogue to convince your colleague that this bill is worth supporting. If she has done that, I believe the bill would have passed.
So, Honorable, you didn't do your groundwork and you just brought that bill to the Parliament?
Mr. Mr. Cisse, I think Mr. Foon doesn't understand how Parliament works. Just like you said, you cannot force people to go to Parliament, and people have other issues because, like sometimes even during the budget session, you don't see me at the Parliament because I have other parliamentary functions which are also mandatory. But to say that in Parliament you have to be confrontant, you have to confront people, you have to talk to people. But even the way Mr. Foon's composure doesn't look appealing for a parliamentarian, because compared to me, and he said that he doesn't know me, and to say that you campaigned for me for months and say that you don't know, then who has an issue here? Because I think we all grew up in the same area. Banjul South is very small, but to say that, and also to say that I did not I did not do my homework. They were the ones who accused me of inviting the parliamentarians to another outside session outside the Parliament. And I think that cannot be more convincing that I did consultation with the parliamentarians. The thing is, this took us 18 months to bring to Parliament. So that vindicates me that I have done my homework properly. And for a bill to come to that stage means that great work have been done. And I doubt whether Mr. Foon would ever come up with a private member's bill. He claims that he has experience, that he's from a party. Being a first-timer in Parliament, being somebody that has never been in politics, within my first year, I came with a private member's bill. Mr. Foon's party has been here for over 30 years. They have never, ever come up with a private member's bill. So I think that is a great achievement. Failing is not from my side. I cannot drag people to Parliament. They can either come, and probably the timing was bad. I do not set the calendar.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Let me now bring in, do you think from what you have just highlighted really give you the grounds or the advantage to be able to represent your people, knowing the role of a National Assembly member?
Yes, because if you do not know the issues and the concerns of the constituency, you cannot address their needs. And that's what Tumanjai is lacking. He doesn't know the needs and concerns of the constituency because he is so detached to the constituency. That was the cry I had when I was doing my familiarization tour in the constituency. Some has even said that they have last seen him, apart from on TV or social media, they have not seen him for the past 5 years.
Earlier on, you talked about the constitutional amendment bill, private members bill that was brought to Parliament by the incumbent to have women, the number of women in Parliament increased. I mean, if you were to introduce a private members bill, what would it be?
Yeah, women empowerment doesn't necessarily should be cosmetic empowerment. That's what I am sensing now. Just give women a push that they are empowered. No, there are other women in the field who should be empowered. It should not be about elitism. They should think of the women in the narcos. They should think of the women who woke up by 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and they are around the seaside being fishmongers. Those women should be empowered. I totally agree with women empowerment, but not women elitism, that few women should be given mere push that we are empowering women. That should not be the solution to women empowerment. Women in the grassroots should be empowered so that they can be uplifted from the poverty they are facing. Isn't this one way of empowering those women? Because having these women in Parliament to speak on behalf of these women in the narcos, as you put it, isn't it another way of empowering women? We have parliamentarians, both men and women, in the Parliament. There are what can they say they have done for their women peers? I have seen a colleague, Usman Silla, Honorable Silla. He is a man. He has set up a Tibet center, and he has started empowering women, giving them skills in the field of sewing and hairdressing and beauty therapy. And he's a man.
Is it because you both belong to the same party, you and Usman Silla, PDOIS?
No. It's not we both the same party. There is the thinking that when you elect women, you are empowering women. It's not the case.
I will still bring you back to my initial question. If you were to introduce a private member's bill, what will it be and why?
If I am going to introduce a private member's bill, what are you saying, for women empowerment?
No, I said any private member bill.
Any private member's bill. I don't need to say that as of now, I will.
Why not? Why?
No, what I am saying, I don't want to fall where he has fallen. I have to put everything in perspective before talking of a private member's bill. I am not in parliament. I am aspiring to be a parliamentarian. I don't need to jump the gun to say that I will promise this or I will do that when I am.
So Mr. Foon, from all the public issues, from all what you have raised as issues affecting the people of your constituency, Banjul South, I mean, remember, you talked about the issue of the port expansion. You talked about warehouse and stores in Banjul South. You talked about youth and women empowerment. From all these issues, as we speak, you don't have any private members bill in mind that you might say, okay, maybe if I get to parliament, maybe I should push this private members bill. As we speak, you have none.
No, what I am saying is, all the concerns I have raised with regards to Banjul South can be addressed without coming out with a private members bill. If you are talking of the port expansion, you can engage the authorities. Then what they can do is, instead of expanding the port inland, they can try and explore by expanding the port seaward. And we have seen that example around the Bond Road area. Someone has developed a container terminal where the mangrove swamps were, and the Ports Authority are using it now as a container terminal.
But
that can be an alternative to reclaiming traditional homes in Havdai.
I mean, one might say, I mean, the issue you are raising here, these are technical matters. In Parliament, it's more about policies.
Yes. What I am saying is, even with regards to policies, we can come up with policies that have proper urban planning. I can work with my colleagues and we can bring up bills that will address proper urban planning where you will demarcate residential, commercial, and industrial area. Then these issues will not arise.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foon, PDOIS. Let me now go back to Tuma Yai, the incumbent and who is contesting as an independent candidate. Earlier on, you said you had no constituency office in Banjul South. I just want to know now, how were you giving out constituency services in a structured way, I mean here?
My services were very structured and very formal, unlike the claims of the other Mr. Foon, because I have focal points. Nowadays, COVID has taught us that you can work online, that you can work anywhere you might be. COVID has taught us that there is a new way in work, there is a new way in life. Many people in Banjul South have benefited from my benevolence. Some people that are very near and dear to Mr. Foon. So if I wasn't reachable, and if he was more reachable than I was, then they could have consulted him. But even recently, last year, we went past Mr. Foon. He was sitting in the street, and I was with the community people. We were working on reclaiming the school back. We were taking videos and he was hiding. That shows that he does not care about the issues of the community. He only cares when he has an interest in a position. I have been working with my community. Even when I was doing my master's abroad, I was contributing to the interest of my community. I was contributing financially, socially, and morally. I was giving moral support to many families. I was giving financial support to many families. We don't do support and claim it on social media. The reason many people came to contest in Banjul South today is because what we were doing was not shown in social media, unlike what others do. Whatever they do, they take photographs, they show it on social media. But if I were to bring my students here today, this room would have been filled up. That's why some people came from other constituencies that they grew up from to come and contest in Banjul South. But when they came and tasted the waters and saw what I had done in Banjul South, that was when they tried to shy out. But it was too late because they had already declared their intention to contest for Banjul South. That's why people like Mr. Foon and other candidates are struggling. Some even struggled to have people nominate them on their nominated forms. They went out telling people that they were sent by Tumanjai.
Honorable, your 2 minutes is up. But I just want to know, on average, how many times have you gone out to conduct constituency service?
I conduct services each and every time. I go out to meet people if I am wanted. You know how many times I have held meetings with the youths in my constituency at the National Assembly because we do not have offices. I always use the minority leaders conference room to have meetings. I have so many meetings with the youths. The reason why the youths are following me is because I have given them my time in the last 5 years. If you follow my social media, if you follow the people that campaign for me, and my campaign is done for free, we do not pay people to campaign for us. They do it because they see their interest in me, they see their independence in me, and they see that I represent their beliefs, their values, and I stand for what they stand for. I do not shy away and come out when I am needed or when I need their services. I have been there for the youths, I have been there for the women, and Mr. Foon had vindicated me when he said that we need to empower the market women, and that was something that I had invested in. I had gave them grant so that they will not borrow fish from the men and pay whatever they accrued from what they had sold. Before they were giving fish, for example, $600 a worth. When they sell the fish for like $700, $800, they give them $700 and they are left with $100. I stopped that in the market. I gave them a grant free from my salary because, like I said, 100% of my salary was invested back to my community because I did not go to seek office for gains, for benefits. I went to seek office so that I can help improve the conditions of my community. And that is what some other candidates cannot do.
Mr. Foon, I'll bring you in here. Do you agree with the incumbent?
I totally disagree with what she is saying. It looks like what I said before. It's not the representative of Banjul South who is sitting here claiming that he has been in touch with the constituency. During my familiarization tour with the constituency, I have visited each and every compound in the constituency. And whenever I visited a compound, I had only one question. When do you last see your representative? Some told me 5 years when she was elected. Many of them, almost 80% to 90%, told me that they haven't been seeing her. And she has attested to that. She did not even bother to open an office for her to be accessible. He is talking about the students that she is sponsoring. My assessment is that program has been done the most unprofessional way. I have seen one MP who had the same initiative in his constituency. When he started that program, he visited each and every constituency, each and every compound.
Who is this MP?
Usman Silla.
Oh, okay.
He visited he have a scholarship package. He visited each and every compound and dropped a leaflet there which clearly states the criteria for being eligible to access that fund. And he set up a board being chaired by a prominent Banjul North figure and some other prominent Banjul North residents.
Thank you very much, Mr.
That
Fun.
was
Your 2 minutes is up. I mean, earlier on, you said you've visited each and every compound in Banjul South constituency,
Yeah.
whereas you claim people said they haven't seen this incumbent since the day she was elected in 2017.
Yeah.
You said about 80%, I mean, each and every compound. How many compounds are you talking about here? How many compounds have you visited in Banjul South?
I can attest that I have visited each and every compound.
Then you should know the number.
In Banjul South.
How many compounds?
No. I have not been taking the statistics for the number of compounds in Banjul South.
Then how do you know that you have visited each and every compound if you don't have the number?
Banjul South is a neighborhood. If you woke up by 10 o'clock, before 10 a.m., before 5 p.m., you can visit all the compounds in Banjul South.
How many?
And I have been doing that familiarization tour for 2 weeks. And I have visited each and every compound in Banjul South that I can attest to.
Yes, just finally, before we get into the local languages, for the sake of our viewers and listeners who can't comprehend what we are speaking in English, I just want to know finally from you, Mr. Foon, you talked about the issue of youth unemployment and women empowerment in your constituency. I just want you to share with us, how do you intend to address this issue if you are elected?
You know, those are policy issues. If you are elected as a National Assembly member, you have to advocate. The national budget yearly comes to the parliament. Then it is the parliamentarians who have to approve that budget. If we prioritize our budget, I think we can deal with this issue of youth empowerment. What I believe is we are not prioritizing our budget well. And when I'm elected into office, I will make sure that I will advocate for the prioritization of youth and women empowerment when the budget is presented to the National Assembly for scrutiny.
Yeah, but I mean, one might say, I mean, you have given the assurance that if you get to the parliament, you're going to make sure the issue of youth empowerment is prioritized. But these are things that many before you have said it, I mean, they have done it, but I mean, it's a different thing.
No, you know, I cannot speak for others. I can speak for myself. And that is part of my promise that when I am elected to be a National Assembly member, I will advocate for a fairer portion of the budget to be allocated to women and youth empowerment.
But advocacy on its own, it doesn't necessarily give you the outcome that you want, the right outcome that you want. And you're talking about, I mean, a proposal to be given to the youth empowerment. How much are you talking about here?
No, what I'm saying is, if you want to tie me to a figure, it will be very difficult. You know, I believe 2022, we have budgeted $23 billion. And if we budgeted $23 billion, and I believe that is the time you can say that this should be the fairer allocation to the youth and women empowerment issues. What I am saying is we are not